Alright, YouTubers, welcome back to War Thunder with the Angry Nerd. I know it's been a while since I put out a video, but I was totally consumed with the Christmas challenges, and I do apologize for that. But today, we are going to take a look at the T-34 1942. I'm getting ready to give a brief history, well, not so brief, getting ready to give a history of the T-34s, so if you want to go ahead and skip on over to the gameplay, feel free to do so. For those of you who are interested in the history of the T-34 was a Soviet medium tank introduced in 1940. It was armed with a 76.2 millimeter gun. Its heavily sloped armor was difficult to penetrate by contemporary anti-tank weapons of the time. The T-34 was the mainstay of Soviet armored forces throughout World War II. The design and construction of the tank evolved during the war to enhance its effectiveness and decrease cost, allowing steadily greater numbers of T-34s to be fielded in large numbers due to the enormous amount of heavy losses during the war. In 1939, in an undeclared border war against Japan, the Soviets deployed nearly 500 T-26s, BT-5s, and BT-7 tanks against the Imperial Japanese Army. The Japanese Type 95 light tanks were equipped with diesel engines. The Soviet T-26s and BT tanks were not. Petrol for their engines could burst into flames when hit by enemy anti-tank teams using Molotov cocktails. The Soviet tanks were also easily destroyed by the Japanese Type 95's 37 millimeter gun, despite the low velocity of that gun. The use of riveted armor led to a problem called spalling, whereby the impact of enemy shells, even if they failed to disable the tank or kill the crew on their own, would cause the rivets to break off and become projectiles inside the tank. After the battles with the Japanese army, Kursk convinced Soviet leader Joseph Stalin to let him develop a more heavily armed and armored universal tank prototype, which reflected the lessons learned in those battles and could replace both the T-26 and BT tanks. Kursk named the prototype A-32 after its 32 millimeters of frontal armor. It had an L-10 76.2 millimeter gun and a Model V-234 diesel engine. A still heavier version of the A-32 with 45 millimeters of front armor, wider tracks, and a newer L-11 76.2 millimeter gun was approved for production as the T-34. Kursk chose the name after the year 1934 when he began to formulate his idea about the new tank. When Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, its invasion of the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941, the existence of the T-34 proved a psychological shock to the German soldiers who had expected to face an inferior enemy. For the most part, these expectations were accurate, but the T-34 was a notable exception. Superior to any tank the Germans had in service, initially German soldiers had great difficulty destroying T-34s in combat, as standard German anti-tank weaponry proved ineffective against its heavily sloped armor. At the start of hostilities, the Red Army had 967 T-34 tanks and 508 KV tanks. In one of the first known encounters against T-34, it crushed a 37mm anti-tank gun, destroyed 2 Panzer IIs, and left 14 kilometers of destruction in its wake before a howitzer destroyed it at close range. The Germans' standard anti-tank gun, the 37mm Pak-36, proved to be completely ineffective against the T-34. The Germans were forced to deploy 105mm field guns and 88mm anti-aircraft guns in a direct fire role to stop them. Despite this, the Soviet corps equipped with these new tanks had lost most of them within weeks. The combat statistics for 1941 showed that the Soviets lost an average of over 7 tanks for every German tank lost. The Soviets lost a total of 20,500 tanks in 1941, approximately 2,300 of them T-34s, as well as over 900 heavy tanks, mostly KVs. The annihilation of the Soviet tank force was accomplished not only by the glaring disparity in the tactical and strategic skills of the opponents, but also by mechanical problems which infected Soviet tanks of the time. Besides the poor state of older tanks, the new T-34s and KVs suffered from teething problems, particularly with regards to clutches and transmissions. Mechanical breakdowns accounted for at least 50% of the tank losses in the summer fighting, and recovery or repair equipment was not to be found. The shortage of repair equipment and recovery vehicles led to early T-34s entering combat carrying a spare transmission on the engine deck. Early in the war, only company commanders' tanks were fitted with radios due to their expense and short supply. The rest of the tank crews in each company had to rely on signal flags. This lack of communication on the battlefield resulted in many Soviet tank losses. Another key factor diminishing the initial impact of T-34s on the battlefield were the poor state of leadership, tank tactics, and crew training. This was aggravated by the loss of many of the best trained personnel during the Red Army's disastrous defeats in 1941. In 1942, German infantry began receiving increased numbers of the Pak-40 75mm as their invasion progressed, which were capable of penetrating the T-34's armor. Large numbers of the Flak 88 guns also arrived, which could easily defeat a T-34 even at long range, though their size and general unwieldiness meant that they were often difficult to move into position in the rough Russian terrain. In turn, the Soviets began incrementally upgrading the T-34. The model 1942 featured increased armor and many simplified components. The model 1943, also introduced in 1942, had more armor again, as well as increased fuel capacity, more ammunition. Also added were improved engine air filter, a new clutch mated to an improved and more reliable 5-speed transmission. Finally, the model 1943 also had a new, slightly roomier, but still two-man turret of a distinct hexagonal shape that was easier to manufacture, derived from the abandoned T-34M project. The T-34 was essential in resisting the German summer offensive in 1942 and executing the double encirclement maneuver that cut off the German Sixth Army at the Battle of Stalingrad in December 1942. The Sixth Army was surrounded and eventually surrendered in February 1943, a campaign widely regarded as the turning point of the war on the Eastern Front. However, the battles around Kursk in the summer of 1943 demonstrated that the 76.2 millimeter gun of the T-34 was no longer effective as it was in 1941. Soviet tank crews were unable to penetrate the frontal armor of the new German Panther or Tiger I tanks at standard combat ranges without tungsten rounds. They had to rely on tactical skill through flanking maneuvers and combined arms. The T-34 was the most produced tank of the war and the second most produced tank of all time after its successor, the T-54/55 series. In 1996, more than half a century after it was introduced, T-34 variants were still in service in at least 27 countries around the world. Now, for some reason, my recording software only picked up the second half of the gameplay, so I had to splice in the first half from a replay. I hope you don't mind. So, that's enough of history. Let's get to the gameplay. Okay, so we've just spawned in to a white rock fortress. And I am going to try to keep from running into the Sherman. I'm going to flank around to the backside and head toward the bridge. And the T-34, for a medium tank, has quite a bit of speed and maneuverability. You can see how easily I'm taking over this Sherman, which was already up on the hill ahead of me. So we're going to cut through here to the left. Back around, down the hill, and up the hill. Don't see any enemies around here. Looks like I have a free go of it. Check the corner right quick. Let's see what we can see from up here at the edge of the bridge. Oh, got an enemy right there. Panzer. He took one hit from me. And that was an AI kill. Take another Quick look around, don't see anything. Check behind me, make sure nobody's coming this way. Take another look, do I see anything else here to shoot at? Not really. So I'm going to push this offensive a little bit further forward. I'm not going to go into the actual fortress. I'll come around here on the flank. See if I can get these guys heading into the fortress. And M3. Well, that's 2 good shots down on the M3. His engine's on fire. And he just doesn't want to die. Good Lord. If that was me, I'd have blown up the first time. Okay, there we go. Player kill. Let's sneak out, take a look. These guys are shooting at something over here. And there it is. It's a T-34, I believe. It was. It's not now. Back off. So the guys coming out of the spawn can't see me. Oh Lord. KV. Hit him twice. Not looking good. Aiming for that gun port. But I'm not getting any. Oh, he's dead. That's why it wasn't showing me my penetrating hits and stuff. Okay. Oh, somebody's shooting at something up here. Go see what it is. Oh, there you go. Have some of that. And, oh, somebody coming out. Anti-tank gun. Self-propelled AT gun. Hit him. Somebody else there shooting at me. Okay, let me move. Don't want to just stay stationary in the same spot too long. Alright, we're coming around to the right hand side. See what's over here. Oh, there we go. Hit him, but on the side. Here we go. Calling in already on me. Let's see if I can get another shot off. Got him. Oh, shoot, shoot. Being overrun. Oh. On that guy. Come back to this guy. Got him. Let me move. Oh shit, somebody behind me. Oh man. That's a brave little M2 there. Got a BT7 on my side too. There. Now my engine's on fire. Get put out. Oh, here comes that M3. Okay. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in all the dead carcasses of enemies who have fallen to the wrath of the T-34. I don't get out of here. I'm not going to be able to go shoot anything else. Alright. Don't want to pop back up on that side I just was. So we move back around to this side. Okay, what do we got? But with Sherman going up the hill. Alright, I'm not going to stay here and take one from him. Good thing I moved. Give him some arty. Move out of the way of this arty. Oh, see something there? Got him. Oh no, no. I'm not getting bombed. My engine's messed up from that fire earlier. I can't go quite as fast as I was. Carcass of that M3 still here. What's that? One and done. Oh, there's the next victim. Hit him. Some good hit. And then again, but not enough to take him out before the game ended. So let's see what we did. Had 15 ground kills with 1 assist. Picked up supporting fire, teamwork, 1 shot. Still don't know how that works. Multi-strike, Avenger, professional, shadow strike streak, ground win streak, completed task, the best squad, and anti-mech. And was not lucky, as usual. 15 ground kills, 1 assist. 47,353 silver lions. Came in first in the team with 14 player kills, 1 AI kill. Let's go ahead and save this replay. And I'm glad I did save the replay, or you wouldn't get to see this game because the recording software only got the second half. Okay, as a wrap up here, I have to say that the T-34 1942 is an excellent combination of armor, firepower, and maneuverability, which makes this an extremely deadly tank. Now, you cannot sit still and trade blows with every tank on the battlefield. Even some of these smaller tanks can still take you out. That being said, I'll take this T-34 over a KV-1 any day. So, if you like the video, like it. If you didn't, don't. Subscribe if you would. I could really use the help. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You'll find those addresses at the end of the video. But as always, thanks for watching. Nerd out.